Welcome to this episode of When the Blitz Hits the Fan. We're still working on that name, but I am Isaac, host of When the Blitz Hits the Fan and host of Fun Football Podcast. And this is our second to last episode for at least 3 months. We've got one more on Thursday night. Med, I feel like I just saw you for a long time. How are you doing, man?
Man, it feels like we just missed each other 10 minutes ago. I am Med, co-host of When the Blitz Hits the Fan and host of Shots from the Sideline. Welcome to the Podcast Boys Football Panel Love Child. Today we got some exciting guests. We got RevTrev, we got Chris Ransom from Draft Utopia. It's going to be a great show. We're going to be talking a lot of draft stuff with these fellas, and they're very knowledgeable. So go ahead and check out their other content. We'll get to where you can find them and everything. And Isaac, go ahead and do your thing, man.
Rev, man, I've worked with you. I've not worked with Chris. Rev, really quick, can you tell everybody where to find you and any opening thoughts on the Packers' amazing draft or anything you got?
Yeah, so you can find me at RevTrev NFL. As you can see, I'm a massive Packers fan. But I do love the NFL in general. And right. I love making content about the whole league, but I mostly make content about the Packers. But you will find that I'm passionate, realistic, and honest. And that's why people get mad at me, because I talk about truth and they get upset because I hurt their feelings with the truth. So I'm not that I'm trying to do that. It just is what it is, everyone. So Packers, okay, I have mixed feelings about the Packers. I could talk all night about them. So some of the picks I loved. I think they were home runs, and others I'm like, I have no idea what Goot was thinking. But the good news about it is I've been confused in the past, and he was right. So in Goot we trust, people. In Goot we trust.
Love it. And we've also got Chris Ransom, Draft Utopia, and Patriots fan. How you doing, man? Tell everybody where to find you and any opening thoughts.
Follow us on Twitter at Draft Utopia. You can also check out our YouTube channel, Draft Utopia. You can catch up with the second and third days and first day of the NFL draft. Also working on NFL draft grades for each team. So that's going to be fun. And I'm up to 204 write-ups for the 2024 NFL draft. Only 53 more to go, and I'm done.
Wow, that's a lot of draft stuff, man. I love it. That's awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to be nice. We're going to talk plenty of Packers. We'll hit them. Let's mix it up. I want to mix it up. We're going to hit winners and losers. Was there, you know what? Let's just start there and then we'll hit our teams. Let's do the fun side. And I'm going to be unbiased. Med just did the grades with me. He knows I gave the Packers a pretty solid grade, but not like I didn't go A+ because that's ridiculous. What were 3 to 5 teams, and we'll go around, I'll go last. What were 3 to 5 teams that either it was a pick or their entire class that stood out to y'all on draft night? Chris, you want to start, and then we'll go RevTrev.
Yeah, I thought the Bears had a really strong draft class. Caleb Williams, Romo Dunes, they got in the third round, they got a guard I really liked. I believe it was Christian Haynes out of Connecticut. Maybe it was but it might have been Zach Zinner. It was one of the top 5 guards on my rankings, though. That's what I remember. The Bears got a really good guard.
They got Kieran Amagate, the tackle. They got a tackle in the third.
That's who I meant to say. The Yale left tackle.
Yeah, the Yale tackle.
Karan Amagadi, left tackle, Yale in the third round at 75. And then they got Torrey Taylor, and then I like the decision to move back up for an edge rusher in the 5th round. So I gave the Bears an A+ grade at every pick, and I gave them an A grade when they moved up for an edge rusher. Another big winner that stood out to me, the Chiefs were my second biggest winner. I thought outside of the Bears, they had the best draft through the first 2 days of the draft. And my third big winner would be the Los Angeles Rams to get Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, the 2 teammates at Florida State, on that defensive line. And then you get an edge rusher as well as a replacement for Aaron Donald. I really like what the Rams did. They also got Tyler Davis at 5 technique, Blake Corum at running back. I just thought the Rams overall had a real, and I believe they got a safety at 99 or a corner. They got a really good value pick at 99 too. So I
Rams
as my third big winner outside of the Bears and the Chiefs.
Okay, cool, man. I like good takes, man. I like it. Rev, I'm going to ask you a direct Edgerrin Cooper question in a second, but did you have any big winners on draft night or big like picks that just you absolutely loved?
Yeah, dude, I think my neighbors heard me when we picked Edgerrin Cooper. Like, I don't think there's any. You are very excited. I don't think there's anyone more excited on the planet than me because I never get the guy I want, never. And so that's my big one. But in saying that, I think one of the smartest moves in the NFL draft was the Chargers taking Joe Alt instead of getting enamored with the wide receivers there. Smart move by getting Joe Alt there. I know it's a slam dunk, but a lot of people are like, we have these massive needs, and I was really impressed that they did that. So I was pumped. I also have been saying for a very long time that the Minnesota Vikings should not trade down, that they're going to get J.J. McCarthy at 11. Not that I think J.J. McCarthy's even good, but I'm just saying I was impressed. Well, apparently they tried to trade with your Patriots, Chris, and they should have, like, that was crazy. Like, what I want to know is if they traded down to your Patriots, did they take J.J. there or did they take Drake May?
They would have.
That's what I don't know the answer to, and I don't know if we'll ever know that answer. But if they would have, it would have been hysterical because they didn't even have to do that.
Yeah, well, Vikings wanted May, and so did the Giants. So the Patriots end up picking him at 3. And I can relate to your enthusiasm for Edgerrin Cooper as a Patriots fan because when Javon Baker fell to us at the 4th round at pick 110, the Patriots took him. I was about as pumped up as the actor that plays Lou in Hot Tub Time Machine. That's how fired up I was when the Patriots got Javon Baker in the 4th round. So it was a great way to start day 3 of the draft.
Yeah, I was super impressed. So I think a winner, though, is definitely I really like what the Eagles did. Getting Mitchell at 22 was impressive, and then getting Cooper DeJean at 40 was a great. They traded up, did they not? No, I don't think they did. I think they had that pick. But anyways, the point of getting, like, he should have went in the 1st round, and they got him in the 2nd.
Yeah, they traded 50 and 53 to move up to 40, where the Commanders were picking to get Cooper DeJean to pair with Quinion Mitchell.
Yeah, so that's a good trade in my opinion.
Like the takes. I'm going to be honest. As much as I liked Cooper DeJean, when we got Bullard, it was like icing. It was like we took Jordan Morgan, and then I was like, what the heck? And it wasn't because I wanted Cooper DeJean. It was because I wanted, if we were going to go offensive lineman, I wanted JPJ or Barton. Because I was like, I watched tape on him, and I'm not sold on the guy as a left tackle. I think he could start at guard. I'm not biased. I just think, like, if you're going to pick a guard or an interior lineman, I think there was 2 better options. I heard some stuff about JPJ's medicals. I get it. But when we took Marshawn Lloyd after getting Edgerrin Cooper, that made me ecstatic because I love this guy. So the combo of getting Cooper and then getting Bullard and then getting Lloyd and then Hopper, I think is good value. But those 3 picks in a row was what made the Packers draft for me. So I just had to hit that little point. Me and Med just did grades, and the AFC North did. I really liked what the Steelers and the Ravens did, guys. The Steelers building up their line, getting Furtado and Frazier, I really loved. Peyton Wilson, I know there's some injury stuff, but they had to get a receiver, and I really liked Roman Wilson, and McCormick in the 4th was really good value. So building the trenches, they built up almost their entire offensive line right there. I could see 3 starters. So I loved what the Steelers did. I really did like what the Eagles did too. I don't know where Cooper DeJean is going to play. That's my big question mark with him. But Quinion Mitchell is one of the best corners in this draft. He was my number 1. So I really liked what they did. So I actually got the Steelers, the Eagles, and I really liked what the Ravens did. The Chiefs. My big question for you, Chris, is: do you think Xavier Worthy is going to be what the Chiefs want him to be? What do you think he's going to be?
I do believe that, because I had Xavier Worthy graded ahead of Adonai Mitchell, and I really like what the Colts did too. They would be my number 4 team. With Latu and Adonai in round 2, I really like what the Colts did. I feel like they separated themselves from Jacksonville as the second best team if Richardson can stay healthy this year. But as for the Chiefs, I really liked Xavier Worthy. I had him graded higher than Mitchell throughout the entire process, and Kingsley Suamadi in round 2. He gives Wanya Morris competition for that left tackle job. I thought the Chiefs had a really strong draft, and I really like the Kamal Haddon pick too in the later rounds to challenge some of their more experienced corners, because he didn't give up a touchdown all year.
And Sumatea, and Sumatea is probably going to start. Med really liked Jared Wiley because they need a successor to Kelsey. It looks like 2 more years, then he's going to be done. So. All right, Med, who are your winners, man?
So you want me to do players and pick, or just all the way? I could do 3 players.
If there's any player picks, it's up to you. Well, if there's any players that stood out, but teams, it's up to you.
Well, okay. Well, I'll just do 3 real quick player picks. One was the Buffalo Bills 5th round selection at 141 with Cedric Van Pan Granger, who will be a starter at center for them as far as like where he was picked. Games are won in the trenches, and that's really the way that I really feel about that. Also, another pick, New York Jets picked up Jordan Travis, quarterback from Florida State, also in the 5th round. I think he was a stellar player last year, and he was really able to turn it on his final year at Florida State with Aaron Rodgers getting a little bit older. And of course, the big injury last year. I think that he has a chance to really be the next quarterback that they have in that situation. They moved on from Zach Wilson. And another player that I was also really big on that fell, and I'm just picking people that I saw that fell that I thought should have went higher. TJ Tampa to Baltimore. This guy was someone that was a round 2 grade that came in the 4th round. So I really did like that. Now, as far as the teams go, Arizona was one team that really stood out to me. They got the best receiver in the draft, and they got arguably the best running back in Trey Benson in this draft. And you look at what else they addressed. They also got They also got Darius Robinson, an edge rusher out of Missouri, who really did very well. Max Milton, who shout out to Mary at Mac Podcast. This was someone that she was really high on as well. And some people weren't really high on Isaiah Adams, the guard out of Illinois. I thought he was a little bit better. I know some people don't really shine on him because it's Illinois. But yeah, no, I really did like what Arizona did. RevTrev kind of pushed the button on Philadelphia, and I agree. They addressed every level of their defense in this draft. They went with corners, Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell. A lot of people, Mel Kiper had them ranked 1 and 2 in his mock draft. And, Jalais Hunt, good edge rusher out of Houston Christian. Got Will Shipley, who would be a good change of pace running back for him. Jeremiah Trotter was still in the 5th round. I mean, the dude's a legend. His dad's a legend up in Philly, so I really did like that. And Pittsburgh Steelers did classic. You win the games in the trenches. Their first 2 picks are going to be potential starters, and Zach Frazier at center and Fatanu at really is a guard, but it says tackle, but he's a guard. And Rogan Wilson could be one of those players that could really sneak under the radar as a slot receiver. So I do like that. And also Payne Wilson, who would have probably been a early 2nd round pick or a late 1st round pick if he didn't have the injuries. Good sideline to sideline movement with him.
Yeah, Fautanu, he's going to be a swing tackle this year if they keep Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle. And if they move on from him, he'll be a bookend to Broderick Jones at right tackle. But they could end up moving him inside to right guard down the road, because I feel like You do have buyout options for both left guard Isaac Sumalo, who I believe Mason McCormick will replace, and right guard James Daniels in 2025. So it's possible if Fautanu doesn't work out at right tackle by 2026, he moves inside to guard. But I think that's a conversation for a year or two down the road. I don't think that's necessarily what the Steelers are going to do right away, because Tomlin came out and said, Fautanu, he's a tackle. We're going to play him as a tackle.
I agree. Yeah. Good takes, guys. I like it. Why don't we hit losers in a little bit? Let's talk our teams. I'll be, I want to hit Packers. You guys mind if we start with Packers really quick? Because I've been itching to talk this with RevTrev. We'll hit Pats. The Bears have the least picks, so they'll be. That was an interesting draft too with the punter. But all right, I'm just gonna shoot at that. Rev, what was your grade? What'd you think of this? Give me your thoughts.
I don't think I'm as high as you are, because
I'm curious where you're at,
and I'll tell you why. I don't think the Morgan pick's bad. I just felt like you. I wish we would have taken Barton there. So to me, it's like that's a bit. Now, I'm not saying it's a fail because I just don't know. Like, I didn't know who Jaden Reed was last year, and when we drafted him, I was so ticked off. And I'm like, so what do I know, right? But that Hooper pick really, really confused me. Oh, is it Hopper? Hooper? No, Hopper.
What? Hopper. In the third round. Great on him. There are a lot of people.
Dude, he does this, man. He triples on positions. He loves doing this.
Yeah. So I was sitting there and going, so I didn't love that. Those are the two things that I didn't love. And then I didn't know the guys late really well, so I don't have an opinion on them. But I did like the depth of the O-line. I really like that because, like Med was saying, it is in the trenches, and what we pick, and that's why this is what I liked about Morgan is he can play multiple positions. Mm-hmm. I really like that about him. So what I didn't like about him is that he just came off an ACL injury a year before. Like, that worries me a lot. Like, so what it's saying is he still had a good year, right? But we just had Bach, and we spent a lot of money sitting on the sideline. He wanted to play, he couldn't. So I'm nervous about that. But the Edgerrin Cooper pick was amazing. The question I have for you, Isaac, honestly, is I know that you and I are both pumped that we traded back. When Cooper DeJean went at 40, we traded back. Was that coincidence? Or would have we done that anyways because we let Kool-Aid go? We let Lancaster go? There was 3 corners that went all that's in that slot. We let them all go and to trade back, and then we got Cooper. Would have we taken Cooper at 41 if DeJean was available? That's what I want. Will I ever find that out? Goot is never going to tell you that. I'm just telling you that right now. He's never going to tell you that.
I could get him on the show. He wouldn't tell me. I could get him behind the camera, and he probably wouldn't tell me. Like, I could be best buds with him, and then maybe he would tell me. I don't think he would tell me.
Yeah.
My answer is I think maybe they would have done it anyways because I'm not sure. I think the media and I think a lot of people wanted us to take Cooper DeJean. And I'm going to be honest with you. I saw a hybrid that I think could play 2 positions, but it's not like offensive line where you can slide. Cornerback and safety are wildly different. And he was a hybrid who I think is going to be talented at the next level. But we visited with Edgerrin Cooper, and I think that's the guy we wanted. So my answer is I think we still wanted Edgerrin Cooper. I think everybody else wanted us to take Cooper DeJean. If he fell to 41, maybe we would have done it because that would have been a steal. But I think they still wanted Edgerrin Cooper. Yeah. It's just crazy that he did go at 40, and then we were like, let's slide back. The other thing I've got here, my grade was a B+, by the way, and I'm teetering between B and B. Like, the more I think about it, I have problems with getting a ton of depth at positions because I'm the kind of guy in fantasy, unless like it's just stupid, I really like to try to fill a lot of my starting roster first. That's how I draft. I'm giving stuff away because we're going to hopefully do a fantasy league together, but I like to fill different positions. And instead of getting Evan Williams, I love him. Why not get something else? Or instead of Hopper, who I like, who may replace Preston Smith, maybe. Why not get a defensive tackle? Because I see Kenny Clark probably starting at one defensive tackle spot, but I don't see Wyatt as a starting defensive tackle. I think we missed on that. He's a better pass rusher than a run stuffer, and we need run D help. Brooks may be the guy. Slayton was solid. We could use somebody excellent up there because when you look at the contenders, they've got that guy. So I just wish we'd hit different positions. I'm not mad about the guys they took. I just wish we'd spread it out more than bulk up. Like we bought at Costco, I would have rather bought at Walmart.
Wow. That is the worst take ever. Costco rules, brother. I'm sorry. I'm just
no,
kidding.
I get it. That's the way Goody's chopping. But we did need to replenish our safety room. So I'm not super upset about it because we let Owens go. We let Savage go. We let Rudy Ford go. Didn't we let another safety go? We had one guy left from last year. So they were like, we're gonna go and get McKinney and then draft 3 safeties. So, I get it. That was the position they had to hit the most. I just wish we'd gotten a corner earlier and a defensive tackle earlier. I think that would have been better. And maybe even a receiver late because we somehow always hit on these gems. So, yeah. But you didn't like that Costco Walmart take? Nah, I probably missed the end of it. I just missed the landing.
Here's the thing. If you hit on 4 guys in the draft, that's a great draft, right?
And that's where I was grading. I was like, that to me, if you got to get 3 or 4 starters to get a B to B plus. So Jordan Morgan's going to start.
Out, right?
Cooper Fuller. Is Lloyd going to play? That's the key. Is Hopper going to contribute more than special teams? Like, where's that other starter? Like, we got Pratt late, but who's the other guy? Honestly, a lot of people had us at an A and then dropped us because of our day 3 stuff, even though I like Katana Oladapo. So, what did you have? What was your grade then?
C plus for us. C plus with the potential of it being better. Because I felt like there was a lot of great value at 25 that we missed on, but I could be wrong. I did think getting 3 safeties was a little bit overkill. Now, granted, the safeties we got, they're all different. So I'm pretty pumped about like they're I'm pretty pumped that you can just slot them in for different situations. That actually is going to be really interesting. It's also going to help when it comes to contract renewal because at the end of the day, they're not going to have great stats because they're going to all play.
You're going to be like, okay. You get a $2 million deal. You barely played $3 million. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is an important piece. So I don't mind if who's going to be the next Wicks in the 5th round, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's going to be guys like that where we're like, okay. And there's going to be guys on every team. Like there's throughout the league that are like, whoa, you got him at 6 in the 6th round. Are you kidding me? Like the Tom Brady's are flukes, right? The Brock Purdy's are flukes, right? But at the end of the day, there are more of those that it's like, wow, if you have some 5th round picks, like look at Detroit, for example. Mahogany in the 6th round,
it's a steal. And he's a 3rd, 4th round grade. I don't know where he's at Chris's book, but
I had a
Chris,
3rd on Mahogany. Yeah, I had a 3rd on Mahogany.
Yeah, man, that's why I had him too. I had him 3rd. I didn't go, do 250 guys, but Mahogany should not have gotten the 6th. Just like they had Brand, he shouldn't have gone as late as he did either. So the reason, Rev, I went B+ is because I really love Marshawn Lloyd. My only question is his vision, but I actually think he's going to replace Dillon right away. And I think if Jacobs doesn't return to form, I think we've got a running back. I really like this kid. So that boosted it for me, and I love Oladapo. And we went out and got guys that are going to hit. I think it's going to improve our run D. If you look at Williams and Oladapo, they are not afraid to come up and lay a hit. And that is Edgerrin Cooper's freaking game. But I'm with you. The 25 pick, man, there was other guys there. I don't like Tyler Guyton. So if you're telling me Morgan or Guyton, you're taking a tackle, we took the right one. But there was better offensive linemen there. So that did knock it for me. But it sucks because we got Bullard. But if you watch tape on Williams and Oladapo, I really like both of them. not just as a Packers fan. I liked both of them before the draft. So Hopper's good. That was interesting to do that in the third after getting one in the second. That told me, I'm like,
day 3 on. I was going to say Most had a day 3 on Hopper, but I had him in the third round of my mock. So I think it's interesting. He's coming into Green Bay. He's probably going to back up Quay Walker. If I had to guess who the 4th starter on Green Bay would be, I'm going to go with the day 3 pick. I'm going to go with a guy who wasn't even in the top 10 of my center rankings that barely missed the cut. That I think, because I'm looking at the Packers day 3 picks, you're asking me who's that 4th starter if it's not Marshawn Lloyd. It might be Jacob Monk out of Duke. Because Josh Myers was a liability center after his rookie year. So it might be Jacob Monk if there's a guy in day 3 that's that 4th starter for Green Bay.
I've been bad with comments. What do you think of Kalen King?
I had him in the 4th or 5th round, Kalen King. I mean, he was a guy that preseason first round grade, but very underwhelming year this year. Bad Senior Bowl. Bad combine. I think that caused him to slip as late as he did. But, maybe he can become a starting corner at nickel on Green Bay. But I think it's going to be Stokes and Valentine and Alexander as the top 3 corners with Valentine and the nickel if they're all healthy.
That's what I think too. It depends on if Stokes can be healthy because he looked great his rookie year and he's only played 4 games since. So can he be healthy? So Chris, we'll finish the Packers bit and then we'll hit another team. Chris, where'd you have the Packers? What was your grade?
I gave the Packers an A-. I really like what they did. I gave them an A for Jordan Morgan in the first round, an A+ for Cooper, and I can't remember if I gave him an A- or a B+ for Bullard. I think I may have gave him an A for Bullard, but yeah, I really like those first 3 picks. I wasn't as high on Marshawn Lloyd as you were, but hey, this is why we have these conversations. They're great conversations to have for that reason. And I really like the Michael Pratt pick in round 7. I'm not a fan of Sean Clifford. You upgraded your backup QB, in my opinion. I like the Hopper pick. Felt like Evan Williams was a reach, but Monk could be a potential day 1 starter. Oladipo's decent. He can play. I've seen him line up at inside corner, outside corner, both safety spots. Very versatile defensive back to stash for depth. And I like the Michael Pratt and Kalen King picks in round 7, where the Packers got those guys. So outside of the Travis Glover pick, and maybe Evan Williams, there really wasn't a pick that I strongly disliked by the Packers. So I thought it was a pretty good draft.
So Rev was here, and I don't blame you because Rev, who did you want them to take at 25? Everybody's available.
Edgerrin Cooper
at 25.
I told you what? Honestly, everyone that I don't care. I wanted him, so that's why I was so happy about the draft because I thought he was going to go between 25 and 41.
Me too.
When we dropped back and still got him, I'm like, okay, I'm very, very happy with this part of the draft because now we went and got a need, plus we got the guy I wanted. So I know that sounds crazy. Like, this is what I'm saying, Isaac. Like, I don't think anyone else is saying that. I'm the only guy. Like, I might be totally out to lunch there, but 25, I would have been like, I want the best linebacker in the draft on my team. That's what we needed. We got him. And anyways.
We get him, and we trade. The crazy thing is we traded down, and then we moved up and got Evan Williams in the 4th with that.
Right.
So if Morgan's good, we still got your guy at 45.
Totally.
I think me and you were in the same boat. We just didn't hit certain positions we wanted. But I think what they're going to do with their front 4 is I think they're going to move Preston Smith down because I don't think he can play linebacker anymore. They're going to move probably Gary, maybe Van Ness on the other spot. And then it's going to be Clark. My question was, who's going to play the other defensive tackle spot? And I'm hoping it's Carl Brooks. Maybe it's Slayton. Maybe it's, I don't know who else. That's my question. So who's going to play?
I'm thinking it's Clark and Wyatt are probably be the starting defensive tackles at the Packers run.
I hope Wyatt pans. I hope he does, man. I really do.
And then
have Med's taking a break on the Packers pick.
But Chris, what do you think about the Morgan pick?
I like the Morgan pick. I gave it an A grade, as surprising as that sounds, because Morgan is a guy I had to New England at 34. I actually had him ahead of Fautanu on my rankings, as surprising as that sounds. So, You know,
Okay.
I like the Morgan pick a lot. I feel like he's a surefire upgrade over Rasheed Walker. He really did well against Latu in Arizona's game against UCLA earlier this year.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that.
Hopefully
Even if
that
you
works.
said he sucked, I would still appreciate your take.
And honestly, I really wanted Bullard. Like it was like dynamite. We got Cooper. Bullard was the guy I wanted once Newman was gone. They got Bullard. He honestly, because I don't see DeJean, I don't know how he's going to play at safety. So I was torn between Bullard and Newman as my number one safety. So we got arguably the best safety. We got the best linebacker. We got one of the best running backs. That's where I was like, I can't go a C grade, even though they missed with some other stuff. But I get you, Brad, because like the first round thing was such a downer. So hopefully Goody was right. Hopefully. Matt, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, we covered this in my show, but I gave him a B+. The Jordan Morgan thing was pretty much the only one where I sat there and like raised an eyebrow, but at the same time, you have a starter with Jordan Morgan, and you can put him anywhere on the line as far as guard or tackle, but he's going to be on tackle. Edgerrin Cooper, like as soon as I saw the pick, I just was like, God, it's like Philadelphia. They're getting all the good picks. With him, with Quay Walker, that's going to be a dynamic duel right there. And I mean, your defense just got upgraded. I do think that y'all should have got a defensive tackle, but Edgerrin Cooper right here is a steal. Like he should have been in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And Javon Bullard, I mean, 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. You got 3 starters. And, you know, Marshawn Lloyd will be someone that can actually spell Josh Jacobs in the future. Like you said, probably will take over A.J. Dillon's spot as the second running back at one point throughout this year. Tyron Hopper, Evan Williams, Oladapo. I mean, these are guys that are going to be contributors in more ways than most people think. They're not just going to sit on the sidelines, folks. This is your special teams unit, and they're going to be stellar. Like, they're going to really upgrade that special teams unit. Hopper is someone that I could see spot starting at times.
And maybe at Preston, I don't know, maybe that other linebacker spot, because I don't know. It's going to be curious. I'm going to be curious if Preston doesn't pan, maybe eventually Van Ness and Gary play both defensive end spots. So it's possible.
I heard the Packers are moving to a 43, and here's the thing. Hopper has more experience at weak side linebacker than Quay Walker. Quay Walker was a Mike linebacker at Georgia. He was a Mike linebacker with the Packers. He's moving to weak side linebacker, whereas from what I heard, Quay Walker's moving from inside to weak side linebacker this year. And that's what
Hafley said in his press conference.
Yeah.
The two biggest things Hafley said were the two things we hit, Rev. He said we're going to hit safety, and we didn't expect 4 of them really. So Ty McKinney, and we drafted 3. But he also talked about Quay maybe not being inside. So
Cooper's going to be the Mike. Quay's going to be the weak side linebacker in a 4-2-5, an outside linebacker. But if Quay Walker struggles to transition to that after playing Mike linebacker his entire career, you have Tyron Hopper. Or if Quay Walker gets suspended again and he has another slip up, maybe Hopper takes that job and runs with it. Who knows? But I had a third on Hopper. I really loved his tape. I was higher on him than the consensus, who most people had.
The more I watched on him and Evan Williams, I liked, and I was a big fan of Oladapo on all of our. Med knows this on a bunch of our mock drafts. I think we both liked the guy, so I was big on him. I want to hit y'all's other teams. Somebody threw a really fun question here because this is the loser team.
My last little bit of my take I was doing, Michael Pratt, like Chris said, that is a very big pickup for y'all as far as a backup quarterback. No, I really did like that pickup because I thought he was around a 4th or 5th round selection, and you got him.
I had 3rd round grades on 10 different quarterbacks, but I mocked Pratt in the late 4th round to San Francisco. I ended up mocking Milton to the Packers, but the Patriots took him with the Mac Jones pick. I kind of wish we'd gotten Pratt, but hey, Pratt's going to be a heck of a backup for you guys in Green Bay.
And we still got Clifford, so it's like now our quarterback room's set. Honestly, but really quick Atlanta question. Clifford? What did y'all think of the Falcons draft?
We have not talked about this yet.
We have not talked about it. Do we want to save it, Med? What do you think?
We're going to unless y'all We'll just say that the other half
Atlanta's
of what
in
we're
my
discussing.
bottom 5, but they're not in my bottom 3. Surprisingly, Atlanta is not in my bottom 3. But I'm not giving you guys team names yet. I'm not breaking yet. I'm saving this for the end.
That's
okay.
that's
Yeah,
kinda
we'll save
what
it for the end. I want to hit the other teams. I'm with you. The Penix thing was crazy. All right, Chris, you were the. Let's hit the Pats, man. What'd you think?
Well, Drake May was my number 2 QB behind Caleb Williams, so I'm very happy he fell to 3. And from what I heard, the Commanders were only considering Jane Daniels and J.J. McCarthy. So Drake May was not in the conversation at number 2 for the Commanders. So I'm very happy about that. I got the QB we wanted. We got 2 receivers. I like Polk in the 3rd round. I was a little disappointed when we took him in the 2nd round, but we got Baker at 110 to make up for it. So we got Baker and Polk. I can live with that. I can live with Drake May. I'm not a big fan of Caden Wallace, who's played 40 starts at right tackle. He's never played at left tackle. I have some questions about that, but Elliott Wolf likes his foot speed. We also got Marcellus Dial, the South Carolina corner. I'm not too high on him, but I know the Patriots liked him. So, and the Patriots also got Joe Milton. So I thought the Patriots did well considering what they had to work with. But just looking at the Patriots, Drake May, Polk, and Baker should be the catalysts of this offense. I thought the Layden Robinson pick was a little bit of a reach. Didn't hate the pick, but I thought it was a reach. But a lot of the reaches that the Patriots made are maybe C- grades at the very worst. So while they did reach, they didn't overly reach. And they also got Florida State tight end Jaheim Bell in the 7th round as a number 3 tight end to complement their starting tight end Hunter Henry and their backup tight end Austin Hooper. I do think Bell is good enough to supplant Hooper as the backup tight end if Austin Hooper just continues to drop passes after struggling with the Raiders and Browns the last 2 years.
So
what grade did you give him overall?
Overall, I'd give this a B+. If we had made some better picks, I think you could argue A- or A, but I felt like the Patriots only got 3 starters in this draft. Bell might be that 4th guy, but I would give this a B+. But we got weapons, and we got the most important position, in my opinion, right, with Drake May. So that's why I'd give it a B+, because I think now we're set. Now we just gotta use next year's draft to tweak the offensive line at left tackle, maybe get an edge rusher if the value's there. But I feel like if we get Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell in 2025, this team will be ready to contend by then. If we still have Matt Judon and Uche or Jennings back next year, I feel like this team will be ready to contend. And if not, they'll position themselves so they're ready to contend by 2026.
All right. So one of the questions that I wanted to ask, and before we actually got into this football panel today, is I told you I had one question about a particular player that y'all selected. And let's go back a little bit to when RG3 was drafted by the Washington Redskins back in 2005. They went ahead and picked up a second quarterback, Kirk Cousins.
2012, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you know where I'm going with this. Now, I am an Alabama fan, and so I don't really care much about Joe Milton III. To me, he has a cannon, but he never had the accuracy, and it just, to me, didn't really feel like I think you could have probably used the pick elsewhere, and I understand the whole he has a cannon thing, and, you could teach.
I gave him a B+ grade because I see Milton as more of a high-end backup than a starter. I do think his upside is greater than Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi, but I don't see anything else more than a high-end backup, and that's if he reached his ceiling. He's got a lot of great arm, like you said, but a lot of work in terms of accuracy, progressions, footwork, just a huge work in progress in those areas and the mental side of his game. And that's what scares me about Milton potentially. But, hey, he's going to a situation where he can develop, so worst case scenario, you get a practice squad QB, and best case scenario, you get your backup if Drake May is starting day one. But at the same time, it's the 6th round. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I feel like the Patriots are moving on from either Zappy or Brissett, depending on what happens in training camp. They might move on from Zappy now, from what
I agree with that. And that's one of the things that, like, there's a guy named New England Football Junkie, and he is all about Zappy. And I said, dude, Zappy's pretty much gone at this point. So, but no, I agree with that.
the Zappy hour is closing in Boston, Massachusetts for renovations, folks. So you might want to get your last drinks in during Zappy hour, because they are permanently closing to do renovations pretty soon for the Mayflower Bar and Grill. Mayflower, Drake May. All right, yeah.
Nice.
You got something else, Matt?
Oh, no, that is the main one right there. I mean, and also like Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. I do like the Layden Robinson pick as well, personally, but that's just me. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I see 3 stars, and I think the Jaheim Bell pick at 7th round. I mean, that is huge. So, yeah, man, it's actually a really good draft.
It is a pretty good draft. What grade did you give it in our show before?
I think.
Yeah, you had them all written down. I didn't write them down.
Yeah.
I think I said B.
For the Patriots.
I want to say it was a B.
I think I said B or B minus. Rev, what are your thoughts on the Pats draft?
You know what? I do like that they didn't trade out of there.
That's huge.
But I do also think, like, trading out and getting 11 and 23 would have been really nice, but you downgrade on the quarterback so much that it's like it was too risky, in my opinion. So I really like that they stayed. I just love getting more draft capital, because I felt like it was a stronger draft, to be honest with you, because all the quarterbacks got taken, all these wide receivers getting taken, and it pushed all these quality players up into the 20s. And it's like, what is going on here? Like with the Vikings getting Turner. Wow, that was impressive. You know what I mean?
Terrion Arnold at 24.
Exactly. And I've talked about the Vikings twice. Like, why am I talking about the Vikings? But the point is, for what I loved about the Patriots draft is Javon Baker in the 4th round. I was shocked he made it that far down. But, I mean, a lot of teams had already picked wide receiver by then, so I think he kept getting pushed down. But I don't know a lot about Polk to say, like, I don't have – was he the 3rd wide receiver in Washington, or was he number 2?
He was the number 2 last year.
Okay.
McMillan did push Polk for the number 2 spot in 2022, but with McMillan injured most of the year, and Polk, because I think Polk was injured in 2022 and McMillan was injured in 2023. That's the only reason McMillan was the number 2 last year in 2022, I believe. And then Polk came back fully healthy in 2023, and it was McMillan this time around who was injured after being supplanted as the number 2 receiver by Polk, who was the better of those 2.
Okay.
I mean, you can tell what guys, the GMs in this draft, they valued quarterback, left tackle, receiver, and it pushed every other position down. And then there was a massive push for defensive tackle and then corner, and linebacker and running back were completely devalued, even though there were some good players. And it was crazy because you had guys in the 2nd round, like, I like Polk, but is he going to be a number 1 for New England? Because that's what they need. They don't have a 1. So is he going to be?
Baker could be a number 1. I don't feel as confident.
I do like Baker.
I mean, Baker was making some one-handed catches on film. I think he stands out in a big way, and I love the energy he's bringing to New England already.
The only reason I went B- on mine for the Pats was because I wasn't sold on Wallace, and I like Robinson, but there were other guards there. He wasn't a bad pull, but I wasn't sold on Wallace, and I'm kind of with you. Like, I'm hoping that one of those guys between Polk and Baker becomes a 1. I really like the Baker pick, but they had to hit offense. They did it. I actually had Drake May as my number 2 quarterback as well over Jane Daniels. I have injury concerns with Jane Daniels. I think Drake May has a stronger arm. I actually think he's a better just prototypical quarterback. I think Jane Daniels is more of a dual threat, and I'm worried he's not going to protect himself well enough. But he did go to a better situation offensively in Washington than New England. But they did restock. The one argument I have is why not address running back? Give a backup to Stevenson or maybe somebody that could push the job. That would have been kind of nice. But you weren't going to not pick Baker there, so it would have been in the 6th or 7th round. So the Bell pick was solid too. I think I went B- or B. So that was my grade.
You did.
All right, Med, you're up, man. Bears time. The Bears. 5 picks, and one of those was a punter. The fourth one was a punter.
You're already stirring the pot. I love it.
That was very interesting to go punter.
Yeah. But at least you got the best one.
No, we definitely got the best one. I mean, he's from Australia, so you know, there's a cute little clip where it showed the one of the front office people talking to him and told him "Sir Submate" and everything like that. As far as the Bears go, there's really few different things that we really needed to go for, and of course we got Caleb Williams, which was number 1 on a lot of people's list. Me and you are a little bit different, whereas I liked Jaden Daniels a little more, but that's just me. But Caleb Williams, we got him. We're going to see what happens, and I really love the Jerome Odunze pick. I would have liked an edge rusher more than anything because I felt like and later on we did get one with Booker, but you had a chance of getting one of the 3 premier ones in Verse, Latu, and Dallas Turner, and you kind of let it go. And, those are potential game-changing. You put someone on the upside of Sweat, and you look at the quarterbacks that are up there. You got Jared Goff and Jordan Love. You want to put pressure on these guys is the way that I looked at it. But, I'm still good with Odunze, especially with Keenan Allen and his soon-to-be broken 20 times left leg. I mean,
one thing I heard is that the Falcons, if they hadn't taken Penix, the Raiders had a deal in play to move up with Chicago for that number 9 pick, and the Raiders were going to take Penix at 9. So,
do you have any idea what was going to come with it?
It would have been 13, 77, and a 2025 4th-round pick.
That's not bad. I mean, we would have definitely had more. We got 8 picks next year.
Bears' top 2 options at 9 were Romo Dunes, Washington, and Jared Verse. And I went off the educated guess that they were going to go with they were going to upgrade over Trey Scott, the Cincinnati receiver, at 9. That was my educated guess. That's why I mocked O'Dunes at 9. And that's the route they ended up going in. But, if they had moved back to 13 in that scenario, I have to believe Jared Verse would have been the pick at 13. And you would have had 2 3rd-round picks as well as a 4th in next year's draft.
Yeah. So I would have been happy with that because Verse is actually the guy that I was really targeting because I already figured Dallas Turner would have went to Atlanta, which we'll get to that in a little bit, folks. But as far as
I'm guessing the Jets would have gone O'Dunes at 10. So Fashanu would have also slipped there as a result of this trade. I'm guessing. And then Vikings go McCarthy, and then Broncos go Nix, and the Bears get Verse at 13. And Bowers also ends up falling as a result of this, which is nuts. But yeah, that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah. And then, of course, the tackle in the 3rd round. And then, like I said, I'm not really big on it, but there you go.
Love it, man. It's going after Mel Kiper's job. Love it. And Jason has fun.
In the 4th round, that's when we got the punter. I mean, he can boom them. He kicked one that was 67 yards at one time. And, it can change field position. And, I mean, I guess I'm happy about that. But I would have thought that they would probably gone after a guard or something like that, especially after releasing Cody Whitehair over in the offseason. So I know that we got some people in the offseason. As far as like a draft grade, I think I went with a B+. I'm happy for what we got because, Bears fan, you really don't get much to be excited about, especially in the last 30, 40 years that I've been a Bears fan. We've had a couple of good runs and stuff, but I really want us to have something that is like the Patriots that had a 20-year run where they were in the Super Bowl 10 times, or what the Packers do where it seems like y'all always win a ton of games in the regular season before losing in the playoffs. I mean, at least you're getting there. So
okay, so you went B+?
I went B+.
Chris, what'd you give the Bears?
A+ for every pick except the Austin Booker pick. I gave that an A grade because I had one edge rusher ahead of Booker. I believe it was Javon Solomon, who was still on the board at the time. But I mean, I gave the Bears an A grade for the Booker pick, and I gave them an A+ for Amagaji, Torrey Taylor, O'Dunes, and Caleb Williams. The Bears were my biggest winner of the draft. So,
man, I've been so impressed with your scouting because I went and did like 70 guys, and you're all like, I'm at 220. That's awesome, man. Good stuff. Seriously. Rev, what'd you think of the Bears draft?
You know what? I thought it was pretty good. I felt like I really think they should have traded back at 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think they really made a mistake there because, in all honesty, as much as the wide receiver is so talented right there, like I get it. I get why you're going to get him, and especially with Keenan Allen and his injury history. Like I get that this is the long-term solution. I'm just sitting there and I think you needed a guard, and there was really good ones there. So I would have taken a guard there. Actually, I would have traded back, first of all. And then I would have taken, but if not, I would have taken a guard there or a defensive player like Verse. That's what I would have done. So I do think, though, they recovered because this Yale left tackle, like I'm watching the board. I'm like, okay, they're coming up next. And I know they need a tackle, right? And I'm sitting there and this like tackle after tackle after tackle's going on. And I'm like, these guys are screwed. Like the Bears are done. This is going to be an epic fail because they can't protect Caleb Williams. And then they go get him. And I'm like, are you kidding me? The one guy that I wish was gone. And they end up getting him. And I'm thinking, maybe they'll be good now. Maybe is he good enough to play that left side and like really?
Amagaji's also a former right guard, and the reason I mention that is because right guard's probably the biggest weakness on that offensive line with Nate Davis starting there. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying, Chris. Is like I really felt like they redeemed that pick. So when I was like, oh, you guys totally failed, but now that they got like hindsight 2020 looking at it, I'm like, maybe they really nailed the draft. And the only thing that's it's hard to say because I feel like they have a lot of holes and they only had 4 picks. That's why I would have traded back. But like everyone's criticizing the punter pick, right? Torrey Taylor. But at the end of the day, you only had 2 more picks left. You had if that's the guy you want, there's nothing wrong with going to get your guy. I had a 4th on
Torrey Taylor, and if that's your top punter in the draft, you have a 4th round grade on him. I can't give them anything worse than an A+. Because if that's your number 1 punter and you have a 4th round grade on him, and he won the Ray Guy Award, his dad played rugby in Australia. He's actually from Australia. I can't really criticize the pick. I don't have any valid reason to criticize the pick, even if it's a punter.
I think it's mostly the reason why people criticize the pick is because they were only really before the Booker getting another pick with Booker was that it was only at the time 4 picks. And I think that's why a lot of people really kind of criticize it because, you know, what you look at what's going to happen with Minnesota, a lot of people don't realize is that when they trade, as much as they have traded and everything to get to Dallas, they got Dallas Turner, which I think was probably one of the better moves that they are blessed, I guess, in a way of getting him. They lost picks between rounds 2 to 4 next year. So next year, Minnesota has 3 picks. And it's just you're not going to really be able to fill any holes whenever you do that. It's kind of like when Mike Ditka traded his whole draft just to draft Ricky Williams.
That's kind of what I compared the Vikings draft to. I basically made a joke. Is Mike Ditka eavesdropping and the Vikings war room showing Quessy how to get rid of draft picks? That was the joke I made, and we're thinking on the same page, man.
That's what's up.
So Chris,
I think the Bears.
Sorry, can
I love this stuff. Jason's having too much fun. I love this.
Yeah. So, Chris, I have one question. So you liked May as your number 2 quarterback. How much more did you like Caleb Williams and May, or were they close?
They were close, but I had Caleb by a landslide over May. So I just think the fact that he's got a better deep ball and more I would say that May might have a better floor than Caleb, but I feel like Caleb just brings more in terms of his arm talent, his dual threat ability, and I just feel like he's been the guy this entire time as far as QB1 goes.
I actually think that Caleb, I'm with you. He may have a higher ceiling than May, but I'm concerned about his temperament, and I don't know if he's the right attitude dude. I actually would have rather seen Drake May or Jane Daniels in Chicago. I just have this weird feeling Caleb's not going to work out there. The Bears, not to clown on the Bears, I'm not trying to. They just haven't supported. They haven't historically supported their quarterback, and they got him another toy, and I love that. But the offensive line still needs work. I did like the fact they got Swift, but I feel bad saying this because I don't want the Bears to be in this situation. But this is the best spot they put a quarterback in to succeed. Getting Kieran Amagaje was slick. I like it. Getting Adunze was very smart because Keenan Allen, I still think trading down would have been smarter because I actually really like Brian Thomas Jr. So if you could have gotten a receiver later, or like Rev said, get a guard. But the smartest thing to do here, and they're not going to do it, would be to get a veteran quarterback and sit Caleb for a season, or at least half a season. He needs to sit and watch. Jordan Love wouldn't be nearly the quarterback he is if he hadn't sat for 3 years. Neither would Aaron Rodgers. And we had a quarterback coach in place. We had the OC in place. Now, they did move the OC from Seattle. That might work out. But that's the things I'm looking for with Caleb. So that's my big question mark, because I'm not super sold on Caleb. And I don't think Med is either. I see extraordinary talent, but I'm really questioning if he's going to succeed, even though they've surrounded him with some toys. Because we've seen other quarterbacks get surrounded with toys and fail. And I just have a weird, I got to see the Bears actually have a franchise quarterback before I'm going to believe they can do it. When you have, and I'm sorry, the 85 that's not a quarterback. That was a great defense and Walter Payton. The last time the Bears had a legit quarterback, it's been,
I think Sid Luckman before the
Sid Luckman. Yeah.
No.
It's been a hot minute. I got to see it. I just don't believe it. So I'm going B-, even though I like Caleb's potential in Adunze and I like the Kieran Amagaje pick. I like all the picks, but they only had 5. And I like what Poles is doing, but the ownership in Chicago is a problem. It's like in Dallas. It undermines, and I don't see it. I got to believe it. I got to see it to believe it. It didn't work with Fields. At least they didn't get a guy that just scrambles, but he does a lot of hero ball, and that's going to get you wrecked in the NFL. So I don't know. I didn't have Caleb in a landslide over Drake May. I didn't. Yeah. I watched the tape. I was enamored with his arm and his deep ball and his the way he can improvise. But I don't know. Did you see an A+? Did you have Caleb as an A+? Was he your top guy? Or did you just have him as the top guy because
as an A+? I had most of the Bears picks except for their last pick, Austin Booker. I gave that an A grade, but overall, I thought the Bears had the best overall draft.
Interesting. I think I kind of wish they traded down or gone defense, but I do like backing up Keenan Allen because, like Matt said, he's had a million injuries. Okay, well, we had some Packer clowns, and then some people wanted us 3
receiver sets. You'll also have Cole Met and DeAndre Swift. So Caleb has a ton of options.
He does. There's no reason for him to not succeed unless I'm right about the Chicago. It's more than just the stuff on the field, the systems in place. And I really believe in It has worked at times, but I mean, Mahomes sat for a whole season.
Yeah,
in
because
KC,
I'm
and
looking
it was
at the
behind a
supporting casts rookie quarterbacks have had. I would say this is the best supporting cast a rookie quarterback's been dealt since 2012. When you look at what the Colts, Seahawks, and Washington Redskins did around Luck, Wilson, and Luck, RG3, and Russell Wilson, this is probably the best supporting cast I've seen a rookie quarterback get dealt since 2012. And if you want to go back further, I think the best supporting cast before those supporting casts for a rookie was the Steelers in 04 when they had Ben Roethlisberger. I mean,
you're right. There's a lot of toys.
You can make an argument that this group of weapons is on par with that 04 group, but the thing is, the offensive line for the Steelers during Ben's rookie year and second year was just out of this world. That's the one separating factor compared to the Bears, because I don't think their offensive line, even with Braxton Miller, Darnell Wright blossoming at tackle, I don't think their interior is nearly as good as the Steelers when they had Faneca and they had all those interior linemen in their prime. So Kendall Simmons at right guard. I don't think the Bears' interior is that good. And
that's a part of the problem is Caleb likes to play hero ball. So is that going to mesh with the offensive line? I don't know. I just got to see the Bears have a franchise QB. There's just a historic thing here for me. So,
yeah, but
and
it's
attitude matters too, man. Like, there's something about this guy I just don't like. And I'm trying to get past what happened in college, but like, I look at Drake May and I've got no character issues at all. I think that matters. I really do. That's one of the reasons why I'm got a big question mark on T'Vondre Sweat. Like, why get a DWI right before the draft? It's not a smart decision. Like, and it matters in the NFL. There's a reason the Chiefs had to go. They were going to probably do it anyways. But there's a reason why the Chiefs, like this Rashee Rice thing, it matters. He's going to, if he doesn't end up in jail, he's going to get suspended. So it's in that quarterback, it's just vital. So I don't know. I've got question marks about Caleb. He's got everything in place to succeed. So we're going to see. That's my big question for the Bears. So I still I can't argue the picks. Very good picks. We had some Packer doubters in the comments. I'm going to hit really quick. And then I want to hit the Atlanta stuff and the losers in the draft. So she's looking forward to the loser. My friend is looking forward to the Packers losing all year. She's a Cardinals fan, so she's going to enjoy that losing. Wow, Cardinals suck. That's her husband. And he says Jason thinks the Bears made a mistake taking Caleb Williams. They should have drafted Jaden Daniels. Interesting. And we also had a lot of people, I've been ignoring it for a while because we're going to hit at the end. A lot of people wanted us to talk about Atlanta, so I'm going to hit the first comment. What are y'all's thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons draft? I just talked for a minute. So, Rev, let's start here. What'd you think of the Falcons draft, man?
Yeah, it just didn't make sense.
No.
It just didn't make sense. Like, you just spent the big money, and I get it. I get that you like the quarterback. That makes sense. You like the quarterback. What doesn't make sense is you just signed him. Like, now, why would you sign him for that much money if you're worried about his injury? Like, and are you going to let him sit for 2 years and then put him in? Like, what's the plan here? That's why it's just shocking to me and to everyone, apparently. I mean, I'm not the only guy sitting here and just baffled. Like, and it kind of not wrecked the draft, but it changed the draft so drastically at that point. I think a lot of teams started panicking that we're looking for quarterbacks at that moment. And
you mean the team that needed Bo Nix and McCarthy?
Right, exactly.
And then the Raiders who didn't get one?
So, but that, to me, that's like, it was asinine. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like out of left field. It's like when the Raiders selected Janikowski.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what are you guys doing? Just doesn't
and
make any
getting,
sense. But like, is Nix good?
I'm not a fan of Penix. I'm not.
Penix Jr.?
I don't see it.
Well, here's what's interesting with the Falcons. They had Michael Penix at 3 on their board, behind Marvin Harrison Jr. and Caleb Williams. So essentially, Penix was their number 2 quarterback and number 3 overall player on their board. That's why they took him at 8. So if the Falcons had been picking second, or third, let's say for hypothetical purposes, the Falcons managed to make a trade with the Patriots for 3, they would have took Penix and passed on both May and Jaden Daniels. So in that scenario,
were you guys not high on Penix? Because I'm not. I honestly don't. I don't know if he's going to be a long-term starter. I really don't. I don't think Bo Nix will either. I'm not even sure if McCarthy will. I think there's only going to be 3 quarterbacks in this draft. I think there's a wild card. It could be McCarthy, maybe, or Penix or Nix. I don't think so. I don't know if one of those top 3 will probably bust. So you're probably only going to get 3 out of those top 6. I just wasn't big on Penix. What I saw in the national championship game was, I think, a recipe for NFL teams to use against him. And I know it was Michigan's D, but there's injury concerns. He's 24 years old already. He's a lefty. That doesn't help either. And I don't see a starter. I just don't. I see a backup. I really do.
But what about the rest of their draft? Because I wasn't overly thrilled with the rest of their draft, but
no,
maybe I'm wrong on that one.
I like Dorless and Trice is. You know what, Chris? What'd you have? I'm gonna go last.
Yeah, I gave the Falcons a B- for Penix at 8, which is a lot fairer than most of the critics. And I get it. Some people want to give him a C-, D, F grade. I get it. But I thought Orhorho was a reach. There were other Falcons picks that were reaches, but the Braylon Trice and Brandon Dorless picks were the 2 that stood out to me as the best value picks of the draft. Trice at 7. Trice in the 3rd round, really, really good value by the Falcons there. That was one of the picks that saved their draft, and I love the Dorless pick as well.
Mm-hmm.
We seriously got it. You're either Mel Kiper or you're Field the Eights, man. This is awesome. I like it. You went and graded everybody. I was with you too, and Rook was part of that defensive tackle spree. This draft was crazy because this happens, but there was the way the Packers drafted with bulk. All the teams were doing it. It was quarterback bulk in the beginning and receiver, and then it was tackle, and all the defense got, like Rev said, all these defensive guys got pushed back. And then there was a defensive tackle spree in the 2nd round, and Rook was part of that. I was a little surprised he went as high as he did. I thought he'd go later. Yeah. Med, what grade did you give him?
I actually did give him an F. It's not one of those things because there's a lot of reaches all the way up and down this board. I mean, I do like the Dorless pick, and I do love Michael Penix out of the top 6 quarterback prospects. He was my number 4. I was not bigger on J.J. McCarthy, who was 5th, and then Bo Nix. But Rook was someone that they gave up an extra 3rd round pick for to just move up 8 spots. And this was one of those drafts where it's pretty much already laid out. You got your quarterback, you got a really good defense. You probably need to get another receiver in this draft, which you finally did at round 6. You need edge rushers. You all been dead last or right near the bottom of the NFL in sacks the last 3 seasons. So you would think that getting Dallas Turner or Jared Verse or someone, Latu, somebody that can actually put pressure on the quarterback, possibly create turnovers, and just make your good defense an elite defense. But they didn't do that. And yeah, they got their guy, like Chris said, this was the 3rd rated player. And I think Penix will be decent, pretty good. But it just seems like they when they finally decided to address their needs, they did so later in the draft when you didn't have as many quality players. Why are you going to draft 2 defensive tackles when you got Grady Jarrett there, who is already pretty – I mean, I understand depth, and Jace McKellen from Alabama, the backup 2. You already got Algier and Robinson. He's your 3rd running back. Why do you need him? You probably already signed one already. I mean –
Avery Williamson, their 3rd string running back, enters a contract year. They're just reloading at the position to replace Williamson when his rookie deal is up. It's not a spectacular pick by any stretch of the imagination.
I saw reaches all over. I'm gonna hit some fun comments. I think I had like a D or a D minus. It was pretty
Jason
low.
Washington and Zion Logue, I think were the two biggest reaches because Isaiah Williams, an Illinois receiver, was Illinois' best receiver.
Yeah.
And you end up passing on him, and you end up taking Bertrand. I liked as a middle linebacker for depth. I thought that was a solid pick. McClellan,
you're good, man. I understand. I get it.
McClellan was a reach. Casey Washington was a reach. Zion Rogue was a reach. I thought the Falcons really reached in round 6 on all their selections.
And you had a little reach on Penix, but I didn't have Penix in the first round grade, so that was a big reach for me. And then Rook to trade up.
And
like Med said, that's tough, man. That's brutal. They're actually my second lowest grade, but I'm gonna hit that in a second. Jason's just having way too much fun. Kirk Cousins is gonna be trade bait in 2 years because the Falcons are trying to Green Bay Packers.
I don't know if anyone's going to get him.
This one was also very fun. Peter says regarding the Falcons draft, we thought it was great, especially their first round pick. Bears fans, just a lot of Atlanta Falcons like. Oh, this is interesting. Peter also said in terms of character for a while, too, that I watched his pro day, I saw a really different person than how the media portrays him in terms of Caleb. Yeah, Jason, I hit your comment. The Raiders we'll talk about the Raiders in a second, but I'm going to hit one of my other losers. I'll do it quick. I don't get what the Titans were doing. I think they panicked after Joe Alt was gone because this is another loser for me because I think they expected Joe Alt to be there at 7. Even with McCarthy there at 5, I think they expected receiver. I think they were expecting Joel to be there, and I don't think Latham was the. Me and Rev did this. I can't remember.
Went with Fashanu at 7. If we're being
real. So like there was other guys there too. I think tackle was the right position. That's the wrong player, and that high in the draft, a miss is. I just don't like the Tamondre Sweat pick at 38, and like Med said, Gray can't cover anything. So I have questions about their top 3 picks. Like like those 3, like we know this as Packer fans. Sometimes we miss on first round picks, but Goody nails a lot of later ones. But I don't know. I don't understand what Tennessee's plan is because they went out and spent a bunch of money, and I don't think they're even going to be a 6-win team. So I don't know what they're doing because I don't see it with Will Levis. They overpaid Tony Pollard. The only good move they made was they did go and get a solid center, but they went out and got Snead. They went out and spent like they were trying to be a contender, and they're still rebuilding. That's why I see Tennessee, even in a weak division. What do y'all think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought the Titans' best pick in the first, the best pick they made in the entire draft was Cedric Gray, the inside linebacker from North Carolina. I thought that was their best pick for the entire draft. So yeah, I've got the Falcons as my 5th biggest loser. The Titans did come in at 4.
Ooh, interesting.
Who are your
other 3?
I have Arizona at 3, and that's mainly because I felt like after they took Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4, they reached on the rest of their picks.
Can you speak on the Elijah Jones reach for me really quick for a fan that's watching? Can you talk about Elijah Jones really fast?
Boston College, I had him in the 5th, 6th round. I mean, that's just – I'm not as high on him as the consensus.
I hope she's watching. I'm going to tell her. No, I agree. That was a reach. That was the cornerback spending.
I think they took Darius Robinson, and they also took Isaiah Adams, the Illinois guard, when they traded down with Atlanta. So I felt like the Cardinals reached a lot of positions, and they stuck with Hajah Froholt, who's the worst center in the entire NFL, and they stuck with him. They could have got Van Pran. They could have got Zach Frazier. They could have figured out a way to upgrade. They could have figured out a way to upgrade the center spot, but they didn't. So Cardinals came in at 3, and then spot 1 and 2.
Wait, really quick. Why take a tight end in the 3rd when you got McBride too? That didn't make any sense. They had so many other needs, right?
Yeah,
they did.
Like, why do that?
Ryman, who wasn't even my top 5 tight end. I had a 6th round grade on Ryman. They could have gotten if they had wanted a tight end too to McBride, I can respect that, but take someone good. Take Jatavian Sanders. Take Cade Stover. Take Dallin Holker, who went undrafted, who's on the Saints. Take one of those 3 guys to complement McBride as your number 2. And you didn't have to get you could have gotten one of those guys on day. You would have had to pick Stover at that spot, but you could have got the other two guys. Well, Carolina took Sanders in the third round, but you could have gotten Jatavian at 90. But yeah, the Cardinals, I feel like they really missed. And my two biggest losers are Jacksonville and Carolina. Now, Jacksonville, I like the Brian Thomas Jr. pick. I thought they reached with the rest of their picks outside of Brian Thomas Jr. So they come in at number 2. And number 1 biggest loser for me is the Carolina Panthers. I had 14 receivers ahead of Xavier Legette. He was my wide receiver 18. I do like Legette, but he had a lot of drops in the Senior Bowl, so I am concerned about his contest catch ability at the next level. Him and Devontae Walker both had 12 drops during Senior Bowl practice. So I do have concerns with him and Legette.
Did you like the Brooks pick or the Wallace pick? I'm just curious. While we're on Carolina, they were not one of my best, but I had them at like a
I like the
C+,
Jatavian Sanders, and I like the Jonathan Brooks and Jatavian Sanders picks from Texas. Those were good picks. Okay, those were genuinely good picks.
Not big on Wallace, huh?
Wallace, what position again?
That was 3rd round, pick 72.
He's a linebacker from Kentucky.
Linebacker from Kentucky.
Trevin Wallace personally, he was not even in my top 10 linebacker rankings. I'm not high on Wallace, so yeah, I thought the Leggett and Trevin Wallace picks were massive reaches by the Panthers. But yeah, I think I ended up giving the Panthers an F grade for Wallace and an F for Leggett. So yeah, the Panthers for me were my biggest loser of the draft, and we've seen Dave Tepper trade up multiple times. Dave Tepper owns the Panthers. He also owns Charlotte FC, and even when there's not really great talent in the MLS draft in 2023 and 2024's MLS draft, Charlotte FC traded up and gave the Rapids extra draft picks to move up and get the player they wanted. So I mean, we've seen multiple years now where a Dave Tepper owned team trades up in the draft and reaches for value. So I just think that's interesting at NFL and MLS level. And the Panthers are my biggest loser. And we may have to beef up security if Dave Tepper tries to invade the studio after that incident where he went into a bar. You know, Dave Tepper went into a bar. He attacked a Panthers fan. The Panthers said,
"Oh yeah, that was not a good look." He's had a rough year. I mean, honestly, like, you know how? I mean, I agree with you. The Bears have set up Caleb at least like on the field for success. The Panthers did not do Bryce Young any favors at all. So for his sake, I hope you're wrong on Leggett.
I really did like
but even then, they had to reload.
Undrafted free agent Jalen Coker, an undrafted free agent, a hole across that the Panthers added at wide receiver. He reminds me of Christian Watson, so I did love that move to get Coker as a UDFA. That might have been their best pick outside of Sanders and Brooks. So their best addition. So
all right, let's hit some other losers. Rev, did you have any other teams that stood out? You want to do a top 5 or any teams that stood out to you that you were, other than Atlanta, where you were like, what were they doing?
Yeah, I felt like that with the Vegas Raiders because they just got Michael Mayer last year, and then they went and got Brock Bowers, and I'm like, what is going? This is again another one of these moments where I'm in the draft, and I'm like I get that Bowers is good, okay, don't get me wrong, but like I haven't seen a tight end be good in the first round for a long time. I guess now you can say Hawkinson ended up panning out, but it took him forever. I think Michael Pitts has been a huge fail. And I'm just like, I don't like, is he better than those guys? And like the college stats, has he got better college stats when they came out? I'm not sure. I just felt like they had way bigger needs. But I do like their,
you mean like a quarterback?
Yeah, right. Like exactly. Now, granted, I think Uncle Rico, Minshew is he's quite underrated. Like I think he's gonna they probably want to stick with O'Donnell, right? But I think Minshew is like the Doug Flutie feel. Like they don't want to start him, but he keeps starting and he keeps playing well. So maybe they have this quarterback situation. Like, I think it's way better situation now, quarterback wise, than when they went and said, "Hey, we're gonna go get Jimmy G." That was terrible. I even knew that was terrible, and I don't know. Like, they're getting paid millions of dollars to do that, right? So maybe they're thinking, well, we had bad quarterback play. Who we have now is going to be, yeah. There you go, right?
Yeah, shots. Put that up. That's perfect. That's perfect.
What I love about it is you're in the stream and you're putting that in. That's great. That's the
Yeah,
best
I love
part
when
of
he
that.
rates his own show. It's great.
But what I'm saying, Matt, is, and I think that's the point, is like, I get that you didn't go quarterback. Okay. I get that. But he is Uncle Rico, Jason. He totally is.
Uncle Rico.
And so, but the Jackson Powers Johnson draft pick, I really like that. But after that, I was like, it's nothing like jumps off the page for me.
Yeah.
So I get that you get the best tight end and someone who's highly rated. I'm just like, is he going to be Travis Kelce, or is he going to be Kyle Pitts and just not produce?
Because the Raiders went for value over need, as you said, Rev. They went for value over need. And I love the Bowers and Jackson Power Johnson grades. I gave both of those an A+ in terms of value. But the Raiders, they entered this draft with glaring needs at corner, glaring needs at right tackle. Personally, I don't think much of their last year's third round pick, Trey Tucker. I think they could have upgraded there in the 4th or 5th round. But hey, if the Raiders, I figured the Raiders are going to give him one more year before moving on from him. So we'll see what happens with the Raiders. But yeah, I feel like the Chargers did more to separate themselves from the Broncos and Raiders than the Raiders did to separate themselves from the Broncos and Chargers. And this was an opportunity for the Raiders to separate themselves from the Broncos and Chargers. And I really feel like after those top 2 picks, they really didn't move the needle. I
liked one late pick for them was Tommy Eichenberg. He actually went our 3rd round in our huge mock draft we did.
I have a
Besides
third on
that,
him.
I'm with you guys.
I have a third
and it
on
sucks
him.
because he looked great. So I love that pick. And I love JPJ. But man, Rev, dude, I don't know if you watched shots before this, but he said the same thing. He was like, "Why are you picking Brock Bowers when you got Michael Mayer?" Like,
that's why.
And why not be aggressive and go up and get your QB? Because I don't think they have it. And I'm sorry, but the rest, I don't know what Denver, I'm not sure about Knicks, but the Chargers sure have their quarterback, and the Chiefs definitely have their quarterback. So they may be sitting in 4th in that division. Depends on what becomes of Bo Nix. I'm not sold there. But obviously Denver and the Raiders need to figure that out, because unfortunately in the NFL, I think the Patriots made the right call not trading down. If you don't have your quarterback, you better go get one. That's what we've been blessed with as Packer fans, and the Bears may. That's the one thing with the NFC North, is I'm curious what's going to happen with the other quarterbacks in the division. But let's hit the rest of the losers, and then I got one more thing for y'all. Med, losers.
Well, we already talked about the Falcons and Titans, so I guess I'll go with the other 3 that I would rank out my top 5. I think that the Vikings are going to have a lot of issues in the next few years, and a lot of people might not like that take. But after J.J. McCarthy, Dallas Turner, and Kyrie Jackson, there's a lot of who's this? I mean, I don't, they had it just overall with what they did, and I'm also taking into account with what they paid to get the 17th pick for Dallas Turner. I think that weighs in a little bit too, because in a lot of ways, this draft, McCarthy to me was the 5th best quarterback out of the top 6, and Dallas Turner could be that dude on defense, but I mean, he's also very weak against the run. He's strictly a pass rusher. Like, there's a reason why people were running at him. Kyrie Jackson is a nice pick, but after that, I mean, it's a head scratcher with Will Richard. Yeah, he was the NCAA all-time leading scorer in NCAA history, but he also was on Alabama, which was running up 40-point scores on a regular basis.
Yeah, and there's kickers that can kick it further than Riker. Riker's not a guy that's going to make you a 60-yard field goal. Both Joshua Carty and Harrison Mevis have made field goals from 60 yards and above, whereas Reichard's going to max out at 57, 58, but he's very accurate in terms of his kicking accuracy.
Rev rating the show, too. I love it.
There you go. So I think the Minnesota Vikings would probably be third, even though some people are like, man, JJ McCarthy. I was never big on JJ McCarthy. You've heard me before. Janae knows that I've said it 1,000 times. I just really wasn't impressed with him. He never threw over 3,000 yards in any year that he was with Michigan. The most passes he ever did was 330, and he also had an 8.7 average per attempt. That's Mike Mitchell Trubinsky numbers.
Yeah, and that's the thing. But the Vikings, even if you hit on McCarthy, you still most likely have the worst quarterback in the division because Caleb's probably going to reach his ceiling, even if there's some baggage or drama. Jordan Love and Jared Goff are the two best quarterbacks in that division right now. I don't see that changing for the foreseeable future. So even if the Vikings do hit on McCarthy, they still have the worst quarterback situation in that division. But that might say more about the strength of the NFC North than McCarthy himself.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Because he can pan and still be the worst. That's the funny thing. Like you said, if Caleb pans, because Jordan Love looks pretty darn good. And I mean, Jared Goff's found a home in Detroit, so I'm with you. That was going to lead into my question, but Med, who are your other losers?
My last two losers, one of them is actually the Cleveland Browns. It's Michael Hall Jr. was a decent pick, solidifies the front line and everything, but I really felt like they needed to do a little bit more. Zach Zenner is a good guard, and he will start next year. I'm thinking, like we were talking to Man Cave last night, Bortolni, I could see him retiring because he's getting up there in age, and then Zenner will just move in right where he's at. After that, I'm not a really big Thrash guy. Nathan Watson, all the other guys that they had after that, I was like, Thrash, he had one good season, and it was last year. So he lucked out in that, and he could prove me wrong, but I just not really big. And the team that I think is going to be the biggest loser was the Denver Broncos. I just do not like Bo Nix. I know some people love him. Yeah, he threw for like 69 touchdowns in the past 2 seasons, but he was playing in an offense that was read option, and he only had to really look and see if one guy was open. And if he wasn't, he handed the ball off. He didn't have a whole lot put on him. And, you look at what he did at Auburn, he sucked. That's just being 100% accurate. He sucked. Whenever he played against teams that were at about the same talent level as him, he did not thrive at all. He thrived at Oregon because they're beating up on cupcakes half the time. And, I like some of the other draft moves they had. I do like Troy Franklin. I think he should be all right. He was a second-round grade for a lot of people, and he got picked up in the 4th. And I've always been a fan of Estime. He's a little slow, but he's a tank. Chris Abrams-Drain will be someone that gets burned on a regular basis. I mean, it's just – I wasn't really – and Jonah Ellis, I know a lot of people really talked about him because he's small in size, but I always thought about Ellis Dumerville whenever I looked at him. So, overall, I think that you're going to see Sean Payton having a different job in about 3 years.
Yeah, probably. I agree. Okay, I've got Atlanta, Tennessee as my losers. I love Kirk Cousins. Sorry, not Kirk Cousins. I think J.J. McCarthy could pan, and I do like Dallas Turner, but I don't like the rest of Minnesota's draft. And I think they're the bottom feeders in the division. Denver didn't have a lot of picks, so Bo Nix better pan. I'm not Hugh Ellis was okay. Troy Franklin's going to step in and be the number 2 receiver there. It's the problem is I just don't know if that's a winning situation in Denver. Maybe Estime helps that draft because I do like Audric Estime, even though he ran a 4.71. I'm not huge on that, but he does have. He looks like I like his running ability, his vision. I just worry about his separation. I don't know if he's going to be a long-term starter in the NFL, but it kind of looks like he might be. So we'll see how that works out for Denver. But they were one of my losers as well. Heck yeah, we're going to be coming to him for draft stuff and Rev for. I'm going to have a lot of Packer previews this year, dude. So we're going to have a lot of fun. But okay, I'm going to just be doing Packer previews every week. I'll be doing other stuff too. But anyways, the other one is Cleveland. My problem is Zinner's coming off an injury. I wasn't huge on Thrash. That leaves it all on Michael Hall Jr. And the way I'm grading these is how many starters are you going to get out or potential impact players? And I hate to just copy all, but the Browns were my big question mark. So We can hit the last draft question in a second, but here's my question for y'all, and it's the same one for me and Rev. Now that the draft is over and pretty much free agency is over, we don't have the schedules yet set in stone. That's going to be sometime soon in May. Where do y'all see your prospective teams finishing, either within their divisions or record-wise, in this upcoming season? Chris, you want to go first with the Pats?
It depends on who starts. I think we go 2-15 if we redshirt Drake May and start Jacoby Brissett. I thinking anywhere from 5-12 to 7-10 is realistic if we roll with Drake May, since I think the Patriots have the weapons, but the offensive line isn't quite there yet at left tackle. There's stability everywhere else. I just don't know. If Okorafor starts at left tackle, we might be okay, but if we have to start Wallace or one of these other guys at left tackle, it could be a disaster. It could be really brutal. So I think 5 to 7 wins is realistic if May starts. If it's Jacoby Brissett the entire year, I think we could go 2-15 and end up with the first pick in 2025 and get a left tackle with that pick, or Luther Burden.
Okay. Matt, what do you think about the Bears?
And
then we'll close.
Okay. I actually think that 8-9 would be the most realistic, maybe 9-8 at the most. It's a rookie quarterback, and it is that, and that's how I basically go off of it. I mean, Keenan Allen is a great. He was an awesome pickup for a 4th round pick. I mean, it's Keenan Allen, but if he stays healthy, it's potentially one of the better trios of receivers in the NFL. And you do have DeAndre Swift. You got Herbert back there too, sharing the rock. I mean, the offense potentially can be explosive, and our defense is really good. But like I said, you're talking about a brand new offensive coordinator, a rookie quarterback, and a defensive-minded head coach. And usually those 3 things don't really mesh well for the first year. It's the following season that I think you're going to see a lot of improvement with the Bears.
Agreed.
Right.
And I just want to add really briefly that I think 9-8 is realistic, and I think the best case scenario for the Bears is you go 9-8, you get the 7 seed. But even if that happens, I'm thinking Caleb Williams. He does get 4,000 yards, but he's the first 30 touchdown, 30 interception quarterback since Jameis Winston.
You're talking about chicken wing, Jameis Winston?
Yes.
I like it. All right, Rev, what do you think about the Packers?
We're going in the NFC North, but it's going to be close. I can see Detroit winning it again, but I just have this feeling that it's this year. I still can't believe we in 1 year fixed it, and we had 5 bad weeks. That's what we're talking about here. Like, we still have a great coach. We lost Aaron Jones, but man, if you're going to lose Aaron Jones, getting Jacobs, are you kidding me? Yeah. McKinney, like that's even before the draft happened. And so if 3 of those draft picks hit, like I'm so glad we didn't go get a wide receiver. We didn't need one. And so I think we're gonna be fine. I think we're there. It's just that you have to earn everything. So it's no one's. But I think the Vikings are going to be better than you guys think. Everyone's crapping on them. I think the Bears have improved. I think this is the best division in football, in my opinion, because those are going to be bloodbath games. And I'm really interested to see what the NFC North looks like for me.
No way.
So yeah, I think the Lions being 13-4 difficult because like only losing 4 games. Come on, like this league is a league of parity, and there's only a couple really bad teams. In all honesty, everyone else can win a game and be there. So I have a hard time thinking that anyone in our division is going to run away with it. But maybe if the Vikings are as bad as all you guys say, then I'm sitting there going, maybe they're the ones that are going to be the bottom feeders. But with that offensive, like we're talking JJ, we're talking Addison, we're talking Hawkinson, and we're talking Aaron Jones. How is that bad? We're talking about Caleb being surrounded by great talent. What about
I would North and NFC North are going to be the 2 toughest divisions this year.
Both North divisions.
They're both North. It's going to be the AFC North and the NFC North. Tell you what, I'll give my Packers thoughts at the end. Why don't you guys, and I'll close the show with my Packers thoughts, and I'll make it quick, I promise. Let's go ahead, because me and Med did a show right before this, and I know Rep's got to go. Chris, can you tell everybody where to find you again, really quick? And
at Draft Utopia, you can follow me on Twitter. You can like our Facebook page. You can subscribe to us on YouTube. There's a lot of different ways to reach out to us and engage with us when it comes to our content and content distribution. So thank you for the having me on tonight. Dude,
yeah, you did great. You and Rev were awesome. Seriously. I'm happy. I haven't gotten happy on the show yet, but Mary said amazing things, and you were awesome, man.
Yeah.
I think Jason nailed it. So, Rev, I love working with you, man. This is the third time. I think we're going to have a lot of fun this season. Can you remind everybody really quick where to find you?
Yeah, so if you go on TikTok, there's this really amazing channel called NFL or RevTrev NFL. It cannot pass the algorithm of 200. It's ridiculous. I don't get TikTok. I'm just telling you, I make fantastic content on there. And, so just not that I don't know. I don't even like TikTok. I like TikTok, but YouTube is the place where I love. And so I'm there. And then on Twitter, X, whatever we call it, I just got a warning for something. I just started engaging with Bears fans, and I literally got this weird message.
It was Ghost.
I was like, what is happening right now to me?
Oh, Ghost, yeah.
What is that? Does anyone know what that is?
No, Ghost is a Bears fan, and that was the guy that I told you was looking around for you. So
no. I'm talking about what I'll send you what Twitter sent me.
No, he showed me. They flagged him, and I was like, dude, really? I've gotten suspended on there for a few days because I've retweeted so much, but not what they didn't say what yours did. So I was like, what the heck was that?
I don't like
Twitter doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't swear. I don't use any racial stuff. I love all cultures. I'm like sitting here and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is hilarious. And it's honestly because I engaged in a whole bunch of Bears content. And it's like a whole bunch of people got angry at me. I have no idea what just happened. But follow me on Facebook. Sorry, this is a really long. I feel like I'm having counseling therapy right now. So TikTok, X, YouTube, and Facebook.
It's like I'm in Twitter therapy, guys. Just tell me what I did wrong. What did I do?
This session is called sports therapy
with RevTrev as the guy laying down on the couch.
I love it. I really don't know what happened to your Twitter, dude. I don't get it, but your TikToks are awesome. I love them.
Thanks. Yeah. So with my TikTok or my X stuff, they literally said that my content's now limited to being like what? What?
You're like, what did I do? I didn't curse.
I literally did nothing.
Yeah. I don't get it because
me and Isaac had a holy war with Cowboys fans, and
I've said worse on Twitter than what you did. I had a holy war because Cowboys fans are the most nauseating fans in the world, in my opinion. Bears fans will tell you they're going to beat the Packers, but the Cowboys stupidly drink the sauce that they're actually going to win a Super Bowl every single year. And Jerry, but the problem with the Cowboys fans, it's almost as big of a metropolis as Chicago, but it's probably just because I live here. But dude, it's like this juice that they drink. And the problem with them is the Bears are bad by midseason most of the time, and the Cowboys are just good enough to, and recently actually really good against terrible teams, to make you believe maybe they can be a contender. I don't anymore. I bought into it for 1 year when I moved here. So that's the difference between the Bears and the Cowboys. The Bears win the offseason. Cowboys do too. But by week 8, the Bears suck most seasons. And the Cowboys are stomping on crap teams in the NFC East recently. And everyone just gets excited here. So it's I don't know. It's something, man. It really is. I didn't mean to go on a cowboy rant. I'm sorry. I need cowboy therapy. I need to get cowboy therapy because the Cowboys kill me. Seriously. All right.
Kill them, so who cares?
Okay, so everybody can find you apparently with limited content on Twitter and TikTok. Where else can they find you?
YouTube and Facebook.
Awesome, man. Thank you for joining, both y'all. Med, where can everybody find you really quick?
Well, here on Blitz. And you can also find me at Shots on the Sideline, which actually airs right before Blitz. So typically I focus more on the NFL content, not just specific teams. But yeah, mostly NFL, college. And I just like talking ball. So if anyone ever wants me on their show, just send me a thing in Twitter or Facebook or whatever. I'll make it happen. So, and I like throwbacks. I'm wearing my Earl Campbell right now for the Oilers.
I saw that. I wore this for Rev. I wore my new Packer birthday present. So, okay.
Nice.
And really quick, my thoughts are: I think the Packers are going to go 12-5. Detroit's going to go 11-6. I'm going to shock y'all. I think the Bears are going to steal a wild card at 9-8. I think Minnesota will be. It depends on what JJ does. He's got weapons. But if he's got weapons. The defense played better last year. It depends on if Aaron Jones stays healthy because he needs a running game. I'll go 7-10. So not terrible. I think it's going to be one of the best divisions of football. They could be 8-9. They could even, if JJ's better than we expect and he has any semblance of a running game or an O-line, Hawkinson's going to get better through the year because he's coming off an ACL. They're going to be good. So, but yeah,
if the NFL was DC, then JJ McCarthy is the Riddler right now because everyone's kind of trying to figure out what he's going to do.
That's a good. Hey, I like the Marvel or the comic DC. Throw in. I like it. Mac and Cheese has a show podcast, boys. Sorry, go ahead.
Bo Nix is Harvey Dent. Once you peel off the layers to his mask, you realize he's nothing more than Two-Face with a cannon for an arm.
I like that take. We've not thrown any comic book stuff in, and that warms my heart. So I'm hoping I'm right on the Packers. This was our second to last live show until July, probably actually August. Honestly, we might have one late July. So I'm happy I'll join before we took our hiatus. We're going to be doing some pre-records though. So Rev, I would, if you're available, I'd really like you to join the NFC North one. I need some Packer backup. So let's team up on the Bears people. That'd be fun. But, all right. And also I'm going to do this really quick. Mac has a show on Friday night with Jimmy at 9 Eastern, and Med and I are going to have Trailer Park Country on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. It's a country band who performed at the NFL Draft Tailgate. Pretty cool stuff. So I'm excited to ask him some questions. I want to know how that experience was because Andy from NFL Outdated was there and was clowning the Packers. So I want to ask somebody else who was there who's not biased. So
I would love to have Andy on that show.
Yeah,
that would be sick.
Actually, Andy's amazing. I do a show with him weekly. NFL Outdated is his tag, but we're also on TikTok where we have NFL Freezing 4 podcast. He's awesome. And I'm on with Matt Ramage tomorrow, so I'm pretty pumped.
Oh, dude. Awesome.
That's sweet. Yeah, he reached out. I was hopefully we can set something up. So yeah.
He's great.
I'm excited. Rev, thank you. Chris, thank you. I am Isaac with Fun Football Podcast. You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, forgetting one, Instagram, and here on Blitz Hits the Fan on Tuesday nights. And thank you everybody for watching. This was a lot of fun, and we'll see you Thursday night for our last live show at 8 p.m. Eastern. So thank you everybody. We'll see you again soon.
We're gonna watch Isaac play